G'day, welcome to the channel. My name's Jared and this is Growers Academy. This is episode 1 where we're going to show you how I've built my greenhouse. We're going to turn this area from this into this. So why did I decide to go with Sproutwell? Well, there was a few reasons. I looked at eBay and I also looked at Maize, for example. Both of them, I've heard mixed reviews. The Maize didn't have a lot of different greenhouses online. The eBay ones had a lot of videos on YouTube where they'd be actually blown away in some strong winds. And Sproutwell were actually local in Pakenham, which was near me. So I was able to actually go there and see it in person. And when I went there in person, they had a lovely lady there that helped me actually pick out the model I wanted, see whether it was in stock and tell me how long until it was ready to collect. And actually being able to feel it and walk inside and see it was really what sold me on the quality and that I actually wanted to choose this greenhouse. Maize was the other company that I was looking at because their greenhouses were in the size that I was after. At the time, some of these larger ones which I was after, you can see they're out of stock, and also the price puts it higher than what Sproutwell were offering. Then I was also looking on eBay. As you can see, there's a lot of these different ones in different sizes, but most of them, the max width was about 2.5 meters, which is not quite wide enough for what I wanted to do. And also the height is not particularly tall because it's only about 1.9 meters to the peak, which I could barely stand in there. So I come across Sproutwell online, as you can see, and realized that they were in Victoria, which is local to me, and they have many different size greenhouses and styles depending on your price point. So I ended up going with the Grange 4 meter width because I wanted a 4 meter wide greenhouse and the Grange was the only one which came in that. So this 4x4 meter one is what I opted for just because of council requirements. And I think I ended up paying $5,500. They took a little bit off for me. They have some sample pictures here and you can see this one which has the shade cloth on top. I went with the black frame instead of the green just because I thought it looked a bit nicer. So to prepare for the greenhouse, it took about a month and a half to come from China while it was being made and shipped over. So I started to work on the retaining wall which was going to raise the greenhouse up due to us ordering a drop door kit. Now the drop door kit allows you to raise the greenhouse up another 90 centimeters to give you a bit more height. So I decided to build a 60 centimeter high wall. As you can see here, I've just dug that trench so we can level it out from one corner to the other, ready to lay the posts along here. So I'm just going to repeat the process for the other corner and this side here. Mochi did come outside for a little bit to help me do some digging. You can already see here, it's only 1 o'clock winter and already we're in shade up until this point. So this is going to be the best spot here in terms of sunlight. We're ready now to go ahead and put our corner posts in and mark out the corners of the perimeter before we level these trenches we dug. So what I've bought these off Marketplace, a guy made them up, but essentially they're just retaining wall posts. You can see this one's made as a 90 degree. So these are going to go in the corners and the timber is going to slit through the middle. So we've got 4 corners, and then I got some straight pieces because they don't make 4 meter long treated pine sleepers, so we need to do 2 sleepers on the side. And then, because we have a doorway, these are an end piece here. So these are going to go with the door hinge on one side and then the latch on the other side. So first we're going to start with just pegging out the 4 corners like we did with the star posts, and then getting the height of them set using a laser level. And then the lowest point's going to be in that corner. So we're going to set the height to the 60 centimeters over there, and then we're going to match the height here on the high corner and then see how much further we need to dig down to get it level. Depending on your ground, you may need to buy a bigger hammer. This is just a 2-pound mini sledge that I'm using for this post. The others were a lot more difficult, so I ended up using a sledgehammer that was a lot easier to use. As you can see here, I've just put one of the 2.4 meter boards along here and put in the center post, and we're going to have to put a small one over there, cut it up. But for this one I was able to just follow the path to keep it parallel, but for the other ones what we're going to have to do is run a string line. So as you can see here, I've got my string line so I know what is straight, and then we're going to go ahead and put this in line with the string, and we're going to put a bit of timber 2.4 meter length down here to set that length. So where we're at now is that all the posts are in, measured out, and I've done the first run of timber along the bottom, as you can see, and I've just got my laser level on the ground there. I'm just waiting for it to get a bit darker, and I'm going to use that to set the level for the first run, just because I'm on a bit of a slope here. So I'm going to come back with a little bit darker and then pack up the bottom runs where they need to be to match up the height, so the greenhouse is sitting level. So what I've done is I've now got a run of timber in every single section around the bottom, and you can see also that the laser is on, and I found this is probably the easiest method just to get the whole bottom run level. So I can see every single piece around the bottom is now level with one another. I can just go ahead and now cut the pieces and stack them on the top, and then cut down the post to whatever height I want. But I had to wait till it was a bit dark, as you can tell, just because my laser wasn't the strongest and I couldn't get all the way around to actually get the level. And I'd also recommend to not leave the dirt in the middle, because you can see it blocks the laser, so I had to keep moving the dirt piles around to actually get a good visual of the level of the timber. But I'm going to leave it there for today and then come back and finish the 3 levels. Like I said, cutting the post down and cleaning up this dirt as well. As you can see now, all the boards are up, and I've even gone through and removed all of the grass which is on the bottom and tried to level it as good as possible. Next, what I'm going to do is I've got this plastic. I've got it doubled over at the moment. It's about 70 micron. This is kind of your typical plastic that you would put on the floor of a greenhouse, for example. I'm going to use it and staple it around the outside of the bottom boards here, because later on, if I decide to heat the greenhouse, the gaps between the boards are going to leak some heat. So this is just going to help keep some of the heat in the greenhouse, but at the same time the white plastic, as you can see next to the timber, it's going to help reflect light back into the crop as well. So just have this electric stapler, which I'm going to use to attach the plastic to the timber. What I've done is I left a little bit of an overhang at the bottom there, because I'm going to put a little bit of crushed rock in the bottom, and that'll just tuck down the plastic underneath that as well and help protect the moisture against the treated pine sleepers as well, so they'll last a bit longer. So next what I have are these gang nails, as you can see here. They're used for constructions, for assembling trusses, that type of thing. What I'm going to use them for is actually to join the three pieces of the wall together and also pin the plastic in place a little better. I'm not sure whether there's going to be enough wind or lift here to try and lift the top piece of timber out, so these will just pin the three together and add a little bit more weight to anchor down the structure. Next, what I'm going to work on is I'm actually going to put a horizontal piece of timber along the top here, which will look something like this, or from this end like that, to go all the way around. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a little bit more height to begin with, but also when we put the frame of the greenhouse on, if the wall that I've made is not perfectly square, this will allow us actually to shift the greenhouse left, right, and square it up, a bit more flexibility in its positioning. And also, because I got the drop door, I need to align the doors so it fits perfectly, and I might be a couple mil off either way. So I'm just going to do some miter joints on the corner here and do that all the way around and just have a flat end on the end here. So now I've got that top plate done all the way around. And then next we're going to move on to leveling the ground. I've got some blue metal, just going to do a couple centimetre fill on top of this just to get it a little bit more level. And it'll be just probably a little bit below that stormwater inspection or cleaning cap there as well. before I can finish leveling this ground, I just got to put in the bottom footer here just to set the height for the door, and then I can fill the crushed rock against that and level it out. Next we're going to tamp all this down and compact it, just so it's not loose anymore. So we're all level now, we're all compacted and ready for the next step, which is putting some weed mat down on the ground. Look, you don't have to do this, but it can get dirty walking around here. And if you have any disease, it's going to stay in the soil and potentially go back into your next crop. So what I've got here is some weed mat, and it was hard to find white weed mat, but as you can see, the inside is white, outside is black. So depending on what you want to do, but I want the white side specifically, just like we did the white plastic on the walls. I want to put the white on the ground to reflect as much light up as possible, and it does make the greenhouse a little bit cooler. And then on top of that, I've just got some pins. These are just weed mat pins. They're pretty generic. You can buy them anywhere. They're 150 long. So they only had these 1 meter wide rolls, so we're gonna have to do about 4 or 5 strips along here, and each roll is about 10 meters. So I got 3 of them. Just gonna start on one end, overlap them with a pin in between. Oh, another reason why I've gone the wheat mat over just the conventional plastic is that if you do get a leak in the greenhouse or a drip from a gutter or compensator, the water can go through the weed mat into the ground and drain away. Whereas if you have the plastic, the water is just going to sit on top of the plastic, and also the plastic, if there's water underneath it, when you walk, it can slip, and it's a bit of a OH&S issue as well. But this is definitely more expensive than plastic. That is pretty much the floor done now. I think I want to go back and put a few more pegs through the middle because it does move a little bit. But I'm just going to finish off today with doing some staples around the bottom just to attach it to the wall. So once I picked up the greenhouse from Pakenham, it came in about 10 or more different boxes. It came with some tools. All of the pieces were individually wrapped in plastic and tied together. So first we unpacked them all and laid them out according to their boxes. Then we went ahead and laid out the frame on top of the retaining wall which I'd previously made, and it has these brackets which clip together with a spring-loaded clip. So then we started to do the vertical posts. Here's just an example of the instructions. They are in kind of a bit of a weird order, and my dad here is just demonstrating how the different pieces here clip together. Then we started to put some of the polycarbonate sheeting in, and this sheeting is quite thick. And I didn't realize it, but there's actually two different sides to this. So the side with the writing goes out and it's protected from the sun, and the side with the white plastic goes inside. So if you put them the wrong way around, the polycarbonate plastic won't last nearly as long. And all of these pieces of channel have a groove for the polycarbonate sheeting to mount inside. Then they also have these channels which allow the head of an M6 bolt to slide inside, and these are useful for mounting things. Next we went on to our drop door kit, and as you can see we've got the sides up now and we're just getting ready to cut down these vertical posts. They did come around 3.9 meters tall, and we didn't need all of that height actually. As you can see here, there's about another meter on top of what we didn't end up using. So this was the end of the first day with the drop door kit installed, and all the sides on and some of the roof vents installed. The back wall is now complete, and the front wall and one of the doors are complete as well. And then we started to work on putting the shade bracket on the top because it might be a bit difficult later on. So the greenhouse is now finished, as you can see. Did take quite a bit of time that I didn't anticipate. Took probably me and my father a couple of days and him on his own for a day to finish everything off. This drop door here took quite a bit of time because this post here comes longer than you need it, and you have to cut it down on an angle for what you need. And then also these two panels here, they also need to be cut horizontally to adjust. Like when I ordered it and I ordered the drop door, I was just thinking that the door itself would be lower and then you would just cut the door short, but it's not quite the case. The door is a fixed size and you actually add this extra panel here on top. And I got these pieces left over which are for the front door, for the standard height if you don't have a drop door, for example. You can see that it comes with a gutter and a little latch there for the front door. And then the front door itself is like a barn style. And it's got these two latches here. And then if you want to open it just like the barn, those two split like this. For example, if you wanted a bit more ventilation or you wanted to install a fan here or something like that. So this is the main door that you're using to enter and exit. Have to admit as well that there's quite a bit of bracing on these doors, so they're quite solid. And the same goes inside, like almost every single panel has a brace in it. And then these ones here are, you know, they're actually two bits of metal back to back holding the roof on. And one thing I liked as well is the roof vents. You can see we've got two there and another two here. And the roof vents are actually like almost half of the roof. So we've got 4 panels and there's 2 of them. In the instructions you can space it out, so it might be something you want to do if you want to put one vent on the front there. And then it just attaches, you know, with these brackets down onto the base. And then the panels itself, they don't have much movement in them, so they're not really going to shake around that much. You see here there is this bracket as well. There's like an optional snow load mount. So that comes out here and then goes up vertically and attaches to the roof here just to support the roof a bit. I also got this optional vent as well. A friend had one and he had them laying around. So we ended up using a bit of the leftover metal that we didn't need, and we cut down this panel and also shortened up this brace, and we added these louvers in. And this is the leftover polycarbonate that was there. And I just added this because it'll allow, you know, air to come in from the side and then exit through the roof. And this, the structure as well is super sturdy. Like if I try to push it, it doesn't move at all. Like I'm actually quite surprised how strong it is. And the other door has this drop bolt here and top and bottom. So you have quite a wide opening, like in case you want to get anything in and out. Like it's got to be at least, I think it's 2 meters wide. So you have plenty enough room to get your plants or equipment inside and out. The one thing I would complain about is just the height of this. And I was hoping with the drop door actually it was going to be a bit taller. But the distance from there to the top is only 1.9. So I'm 195 and you have to step over this and then duck underneath this as well. So already hit my head, you know, quite a few times on that. Then here you can see the louvers on the outside. They've got this little arm here, so that allows you to open and close these. Then look down the side, and the gap between the polycarbonate and here is like I can barely get my nail in there. It's really good, tight fitting. And that's just a view of the roof, and at the same time we put the brackets up there for the shade cloth in the future. When we get to summer. You might be able to see there's a slight gap between the vent and the greenhouse, which will leak some heat. So I'm going to work on getting a seal in that later on. And you can also see we've got some condensation on the outside of the greenhouse now, just because it's starting to cool down and it was quite warm inside. Just filming this after the fact, but I did also run water into the greenhouse, so I've got a tap here which is going to be for filling the reservoir, and we've also got another tap here which is for just a hose in case you need to water something or attach something up. And I've also got 2 power outlets installed along there. We then also installed a double switch here which then goes up, and I've got a circulation fan which can be turned off on one switch, and then the other switch here are for lights which you can see up there. They're just 4 15 watt LED lights which can be joined together, and you can see the couple of outlets up there. And then next we got this piece of electrical channel conduit with holes in it specifically, and those adjustable links that you use for like shade cloth, and the steel wire used for shade cloth to attach them to either end for the crop wires. The greenhouse also comes with these automatic roof vent openers which are wax filled pistons, and as you can see this one's starting to open now. There's a small gap there. The rod actually threads in so you can tighten and loosen it depending on when you want them to open. It has been raining, and as you can see there's some water in the greenhouse, and I have sealed the base there. I noticed that it tended to leak around these push joints, so I've siliconed them up with the black silicone as you can see. There was also a significant gap around the door as you can see. So I've bought this rubber trim from Bunnings, and it fits in there perfectly, and it takes up the gap all the way around the door. And I've even done the bottom there for when that's closed like such. Did have a slight problem with the door where, as you can see, it was sitting out a bit. I ended up adding this extra little latch down the bottom just to hold that over. And then to save heat, I ended up putting this tape all the way around the hinge and along the top on this side of the door. Another thing that happened was that these down pipes, which they give you, I've screwed it in there, they drop the water above the greenhouse, for example. So it was dripping down onto here, and even though I still had it siliconed around the base, the water was making its way into the greenhouse. So I had to add these bits of hoses just to drop the water outside. And I've gone ahead, finished putting on the brackets there for the shade cloth. I also had some leaks which were coming around these plastic pieces here, and there was a gap between this top piece for the gutter and the panel. So I've added silicone all the way along the edge there, and the same for each corner. There was also a small gap at the end there where those bars join together. Then you can also see the water sitting along the edge of the greenhouse there that runs down the wall. With the drop door, we also had to move the latch down to here because now the door is a lot lower than where it used to be. That wraps up this video. As you can see now, it's been a few weeks after construction and I've done a lot more work on it, and you can see there's actually some plants in there as well. So if you are interested in learning about growing and following the journey of everything I've done with my greenhouse, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions about the greenhouse and what's happened in this video, put them down in the comments, and hopefully I'll see you for the next one. Cheers.